Daryl's family uses Gain Flings now, so their laundry smells more amazing than ever.
Isn't that the dog towel?
Hey, me towel, suit towel. More Gain scent plus OxyBoost and Febreze in every Gain Fling.
Discover the replenishing power of new Pronamel Mineral Boost. Teeth need natural minerals to keep enamel healthy, strong, and white. But every day, acidic food and drink can wash these minerals away, weakening and dulling enamel over time. Pronamel Mineral Boost protects teeth by working with your mouth to boost absorption of calcium and phosphate, which naturally strengthens enamel. Pronamel Mineral Boost helps keep teeth strong, white, and protected from sensitivity. New Pronamel Mineral Boost.
Okay, everyone, our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Great tasting and sure, with 9 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and nutrients to support immune health.
Yeah, we'll share our home address for French fries.
It's easy to be unsafe.
Yeah. So I gave you a birth space for free parking.
It's easy to be unsafe. Now it's easy to help protect yourself. Opt into cyber safety at Norton.com.
Why is there an echo? Hello.
Allergies don't have to be scary. Spraying Flonase daily stops your body from overreacting to allergens all season long. All good.
Conversations. Sometimes you agree, and sometimes you conversations. Conversations can create change.
Is it feedback because I have the camera? I mean the phone too close to the computer?
Located at 192nd and Stark.
Hey, Xfinity, show me Disney Plus.
I'm here on business. I need your help. I've been quested to bring this one back to its kind.
Now you can access exclusive Disney originals.
We are an unusual couple.
Oh, I don't think that was ever in question.
And stream must-see Disney new releases.
People need this cinema. Where do we start?
Find the best in entertainment all in one place. With Disney Plus now on Xfinity. A way better way to watch.
Thanks, Woof Woof. Where are you?
The People vs. the Planet. News tomorrow at 9. Closed captioning brought to you by Flexi.
I'm listening to the report on vaccines by Sanjay Gupta, but I might have to leave in 20 minutes. But there's also music in 40 minutes. The truth about vaccines.
In some ways, this should be a really short documentary, right? I mean, people should just get vaccinated. People get on their hands and knees and beg for vaccinations in many places around the world. I've seen this. And yet here, where they have a choice, they have an option, too many people, as it turns out, aren't getting a vaccination. In April 2019, the New York City mayor declared a public health emergency.
Get the measles vaccine.
Making measles vaccines mandatory in certain zip codes. The virus had hit the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in Williamsburg hardest. Which is all about advocating for children's health, right? How do you combat that? No, it's a beautiful document that's completely full of lies. This magazine was locally distributed by Puch, formerly known as Parents Educating and Advocating for Children's Health.
But who wrote it?
Was unable to contact the anonymously led group.
They use seemingly innocuous or noble language, but in fact their message is actually one that's depriving kids of safe and effective vaccines.
They use this image image of a gun with a vaccine needle at the end. I'm like, no, like that's not what the vaccine is like. Vaccine is not a deadly weapon. A group of Orthodox Jewish nurses released their own magazine. They called it PIE, Parents Informed and Educated. The document addressed every myth and falsehood that Peach had spread.
The level of misinformation was huge, and the anti-vaccine network in the Orthodox community is a very well-oiled machine. So they had their magazines, they had their phone hotlines, they started hosting events. And what we realized was that that was really effective, so we started using their methods. They are fierce in their beliefs.
Nurse practitioner Blima Marcus went to war with the anti-vaxxers spreading misinformation.
We created this in response to a misinformation booklet called The Peach Magazine, and it was initially not meant to really be called PIE, but it stuck.
She's an Orthodox Jewish nurse who was key in stopping the outbreak.
They looked at cancer, they looked at autoimmune disorders.
Relentless in educating her community, she rallied a team of healthcare volunteers to host forums, to field one-on-one questions, and to train doctors and nurses to communicate better with parents who were hesitant about vaccines. What motivated you to do it?
It's just that I saw this huge hole in the community of this knowledge deficit. And if our healthcare providers don't do something, then who will?
Where is the anti-vaccine information coming from? I mean, what's pushing it, inspiring it, motivating it?
People keep asking me, and I don't know the answer. There's no leadership within Orthodox Judaism that has ever said it's okay not to vaccinate your children.
Do you think that what happened here could happen anywhere in the United States?
I sure do. If you're in a community, you appeal to their fears, parents. It can happen anywhere.
But there's an Orthodox rabbi in Israel that came out against COVID vaccines.
The dialogue has to be not only talking, but also listening. Some parents, some individuals who are vaccine hesitant, if that's what we want to call them, they're scared. You know, they're thinking, gosh, this scares me. I don't know if this is the right thing to do.
And I think he was the main Orthodox rabbi.
We received an email from a family that lost their 5-year-old boy.
But half of Israel's vaccinated. Or more.
Fighting flu.
As you can tell by his smile, he was just so excited to go to kindergarten. I had absolutely no idea how dangerous flu was. Joseph was, at the time, healthy, 5 years old. He was attending kindergarten, and he became sick. He was hospitalized for 10 days. He coded, and they worked on him for over 35 minutes. And then the attending physician came into the room I was in, and I remember seeing her come to the doorway, and she was sobbing. And my first instinct was to put up my hand. And I said, did he die? Did he die? And she said, I need you to come in here with me. There was a nurse giving Joseph chest compressions. And the doctor looked at me and she said, I just need you to talk to him. And I walked over to Joseph's side and I held his hand. And then I just remember the attending, she was standing to our right and she just stopped. And she said, I'm so sorry. And you know, nothing prepares you for that. Nothing prepares you for that.
5-year-old Joseph was one of thousands of Americans who died of the flu that year. That swine flu became a global flu pandemic, and hundreds of thousands of people died around the globe.
I remember her saying to me, he's the 85th child to die from flu this year. And I looked at her and I said, what are you talking about? Healthy kids don't die from flu. But unfortunately, it's a reality and it happens.
It's hard. It's hard to hear.
It is. It is. But Joseph's not alone.
But there is another part to the story, and that is that Joseph did get a flu shot. It just wasn't protective against the H1N1 strain.
On average, the flu vaccine is 40 to 60% effective. Why should you bother? Because anything above 0 is better than 0. If you don't get vaccinated, you have 0 protection. When I get my vaccines, I think about it as I'm not just doing this to protect myself. I'm not even just doing this to protect my family. I'm doing it to protect other people because somebody was my Joseph's patient zero, but somebody passed that flu virus to my son, and he died as a result of it. And I don't ever want to be somebody else's patient zero.
Coming up, potential patient zeros.
I grew up believing that vaccines cause autism.
The whole entire family came down with rotavirus. This is something that totally snuck up on us.
I know someone whose college-age granddaughter died from the flu. But that 5-year-old, they said, died from the swine flu, and he had a regular flu shot. There was also a swine flu shot that year. But I don't know if it was if 5-year-olds were eligible. And I actually did not get the flu shot or swine flu shot that year, and it was right before I had major surgery.
Welcome to Intelligent Indoor Grilling.
But I did get a flu shot this year, first time in many years, and I got dose 1 of Pfizer, and I have to get dose 2. It's too soon.
Indoors with a grill that grills for you.
Finally, a makeup made just for us.
Age perfect foundation.
And if I have to leave in 10 minutes, I can come back when they re-air this, because I don't think it's on demand yet, but I can come back and watch the first 15 minutes and the last 20 another day.
My name is Austin James.
And I will check I would check the sound again. Should I check it on Periscope and see if it's okay there? Or on Twitter, because I was hearing an echo on the computer.
And I've lowered my A1C from 8.2 to 6.7. You can do it without finger sticks too.
Ask your doctor for a prescription for the Freestyle.
And if you want to know how to get into Periscope, you go turn off your Wi-Fi, you open the app. Wait, you put it in airplane mode.
Here each shave is as smooth as your first. And we never upcharge you for high quality. Harry's. Available in store at harrys.com.
To prove our AA battery is...
Sorry, we've encountered a loading error. Okay, it's in airplane mode. You close the app, you open the app, and then you take it off of airplane mode. Or you put on the Wi-Fi and then it should work. I'm only yelling so you can hear me over the TV. Alright, let me see if you can hear this. Although the sound doesn't work on this phone. It might work on...
For asthma,
let me see.
Primatene Mist. When symptoms strike, your airways narrow.
Alright, it does work on Periscope.
Primatene Mist is clinically shown to open airways quickly. Get the #1 FDA-approved over-the-counter asthma inhaler and breathe easy again.
Alright, let me see if you can hear it. Can you hear the TV, though? Although the sound doesn't work on this phone. It might work on... Can you hear what Sanjay was saying about vaccines? I'm still checking the sound to see if it's okay.
Ocean Spray works with nature every day to keep you healthy. I'm Jeremy.
It seems bad.
And this is CNN.
I believe that the risk of damage from the vaccine is now greater than the risk of damage from the disease.
These children have vaccine-induced autism.
When the anti-vaccine movement started as a fringe element, there was a strategic decision by the federal agencies and the scientific societies not to talk about it. The thinking was that it'll just give it oxygen.
But then, what was once fringe went mainstream.
The internet and social media put the anti-vax movement on steroids.
Federal agencies, the scientific societies, the academic societies, federal agencies, stuck to the guns, straps, don't give it oxygen. And that had disastrous effects because it left a vacuum that allowed this anti-vaccine lobby to really flourish.
A lobby, Hotez says, that has become well constructed, well planned, and highly effective.
They'll target specific ethnic groups where they think they can make headway.
Tonight there's alarming news about the worst outbreak of measles in Minnesota. Tonight there's alarming news about the worst outbreak of measles in Minnesota.
In Minneapolis in 2017.
Don't listen doctor, don't listen anybody, listen to your rights.
They held town hall meetings, teleconferences, etc. They went to Somali immigrant meetings that vaccines cause autism. They responded by not vaccinating their kids.
The result? A measles epidemic. 21 kids ended up in the hospital. It was the same targeted strategy used in Brooklyn in recent years.
I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Harlem Vaccine Forum 2019.
And Hotez now fears it's being used again in Harlem, New York.
What we are dealing with today is very powerful state coercion.
We are told that we're misinformed.
That I'm quite worried they're going to go into the African American community. I'm seeing advertisements for this already, where they're calling vaccines the next Tuskegee experiment.
We will never let another Tuskegee happen again on our watch. We say no.
The Tuskegee experiment dates back to 1932. The U.S. government had recruited 600 African American men into a study. What those men didn't realize was that a treatment for syphilis was being withheld from them so doctors could track the disease and then dissect their bodies once they died. It was gruesome, and the case was litigated for decades.
Now, during this time, did they ever give you any compensation or any money?
Well, after that 25 years, they gave me $25. It was a time when our nation lived.
The surviving study participants eventually did receive an out-of-court settlement in the 1970s, and an apology from President Clinton in the 1990s.
The United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, morally wrong.
A legacy of mistrust in vaccines and public health officials still runs deep in the African American community, and the anti-vax movement knows it, and they exploit it.
If you're vaccinating your children for that free and appropriate education, think again.
But nowadays, the anti-vax reach goes way beyond these ethnic and racial communities. It seems just about anyone could be targeted. And here's the thing, they might not even know it.
Is there a type of person who is more likely to be an anti-vaxxer?
Right, so there have been a few studies on this. As a general rule, it is a Caucasian, upper middle class or upper class family where the parents are either college educated or college and graduate school educated.
Educated enough to know how to do a Google or a Yahoo search, but not educated enough to know what the heck they're Googling or Yahooing because of this flood of misinformation.
That's why I fact
coming
check
out of the anti-vaccine
misinformation for my sister.
Meet Kristen O'Meara. Her story is probably going to sound familiar. She's a mother who says she's just trying to do the best for her 3 children.
I bent over backwards to make sure my children were breastfeeding until as long as they possibly could. And, all of these, positive, healthy lifestyle habits. Definitely social media was more where I found, the virtual tribe.
A virtual tribe, all too willing to create doubt.
My children were not vaccinated. I was questioning whether or not the number of vaccines were necessary, whether or not the vaccine schedule was healthy for children.
She got her answers, but Kristen had to learn the hard way.
The whole entire family came down with rotavirus, which there's a vaccine for that. This is something that totally snuck up on us that I wasn't expecting.
If you talk to Kristen O'Meara now, she will say that she was lucky. Lucky that it was rotavirus as opposed to a more serious vaccine-preventable disease, something that could have even been deadly. She decided to look at the data And when she did, she got all 3 of her daughters up to date on their vaccines.
This question I asked was simple.
Like O'Meara, Ethan Lindenberger's mother also got caught up in the anti-vax noise on the internet.
But my mom, she was misinformed and misled by sources that convinced her that if she was a loving parent, she wouldn't vaccinate.
But for Ethan, the choice became deeply personal during his senior year of high school.
Now it was legally an adult. So I had to take a step back and go, okay, well now it's on my shoulders. Because if I make a decision here that hurts someone else, the only blame can be placed upon me. Not my mom, not my family, me.
And like so many others looking for advice on vaccines, young Ethan turned to the internet.
I turned to Reddit, but I just wanted some other opinions. And an hour passed, I had a couple hundred responses. A couple hours passed, I had a couple thousand. People were saying that they were so proud of me for making that decision and for knowing that I need to take a stand against my mom's beliefs.
A teen who defied his own parents and got vaccinated against their will testify in front of Congress.
My mother would turn to anti-vaccine groups online and on social media, looking for her evidence in defense rather than health officials and through credible sources.
To this day, Ethan's mother, Jill Wheeler, believes her son is wrong.
My son Ethan has no idea the fire he's feeding. One day he will, and my heart breaks for him when he realizes what he's done.
Coming up, holding the country accountable.
I have to give them a failing grade. It's affecting the public health of the United States.
All right, I want to see if I have a call right now. If I do, I'm going to end this. Let me check.
Thank you. Kids with no heart. I wanted to start off with something a little light. So here we go. Syria.
The Story of Midnight premieres Sunday night, May 2nd at 9 on CNN.
The new Samsung Galaxy S21. This looks different. It is. Show me. Just hit record. See that? You're filming in 8K. That's cinema quality. So you can pull photos straight from video.
Impressive. But will it last the whole trip?
You'll have battery all day. And then more.
Well, I don't think there's a call, but I'll check again in a minute. If you leave for more than a certain number of seconds, the broadcast will end itself. So hold on a second.
Then spray mops top messes. Just vacuum, then spray and toss. The Shark Vac Mop. It only takes a second for an everyday item.
I don't think there's. I'm so tired. I only slept for 2 hours. And the music at 8 o'clock I'm going to play on my computer, so it'll be easier for you to hear, although it might get flagged by YouTube or Facebook.
All good.
Hello to the 4 viewers, including Woof Woof, and the replay viewers. If I open Periscope, is that one of the viewers? Let me look.
With the most listings, you'll most definitely find the most right place.
It says 4 others. People who reacted. Woof Woof and 4 others. So I don't know if that counts when I open Periscope to check the sound.
All tax companies say they get you the biggest refund. But only TaxAct has our deduction maximizer that helps find money hiding everywhere.
I hear myself. Sometimes you can hear the TV and sometimes you can't. But if I play it on the computer, you can hear it as long as I'm not live stream. If I use the studio on the computer and play it on a different tab, then you can't hear anything.
Open Talenti and raise the jar. Gelato made from scratch. Raise the jar to all 5 layers.
All right, let me check one more time and see if there's a call.
Out here, you're more than just
all right.
You're a gardener.
This rice was meant to be mixed back with vegetables and fish not eaten by itself, but I've been eating it by itself, which is a good way to crash my system when I only got 2 hours sleep. I need to put the rest back in the refrigerator.
More goes into it, so you get more out of it.
Closed captioning brought to you by TheraWorks Relief. Prevent and relieve muscle cramps.
If you suffer from muscle cramps in your legs and feet, TheraWorks Relief can help. Get TheraWorks
All right.
Relief today. Available in stores everywhere.
The truth about vaccines.
You put an X on your back and become, like in any political situation, a target of hate.
Did you anticipate that?
Even the yelling is a trigger.
I didn't anticipate that. It surprised me, actually.
And honestly, it surprised me as well. Dr. Paul Offit, after all, is a respected pediatrician, a vaccine researcher, and an advocate.
I mean, I get hate mail, I would say, on a weekly basis. I've been physically threatened and to physically harassed, and I've had 3 legitimate death threats, the kind that get investigated by the FBI.
Over the years, critics have called him everything from a terrorist to a mouthpiece for Big Pharma. Pushing vaccines, they say, because he receives profits from the ones he developed. One post said, Offit should be prosecuted for crimes against our children. Another, I will hang you by your neck until you are dead.
Lovely people that live in this country.
He's not motivated by money, but rather driven by memories.
I mean, my parents were children of the 20s and 30s. They saw diphtheria as a killer of teenagers. They saw polio as a crippler. I was a child of the 50s and 60s. I had measles, I had mumps, I had German measles, I had chickenpox. I know what those diseases felt like.
It's that connection to this story that Dr. Paul Offit shares in common with Dr. Peter Hotez.
We're looking at the eggs on the screen.
A world-renowned virologist, a researcher, an outspoken vaccine advocate, Dr. Hotez also faces recurring threats on his home, his safety, his life.
Dr. Peter Hotez, another vaccine expert, he's a security escort.
The central tenet of the anti-vaccine media empire is to claim vaccines cause autism. So we were in a perfect position to refute all that.
Perfect because it's personal. You see, Dr. Hotez's daughter, Rachel, has autism. He authored an intimate book called Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism.
If we don't step up and do this, no one's going to do it.
I'm not that good at taking cookies. Well, I know, but I'm going to give it a try.
When Rachel was born and subsequently diagnosed with autism, were there any flickers of did I miss something?
I did blame myself. I really did. And that's the reason I think that Peter did such a deep dive into this, because he had to convince me in our nightly walks that it wasn't my fault, that autism was way too complex a disease. There are other scientific reasons involved.
Vaccines are probably the most tested and safe pharmaceutical interventions that we know about. They're extraordinarily life-saving, and their safety record is unparalleled. The likelihood that you're going to suffer a severe reaction from a vaccine that's going to land you in the hospital or worse is far less than being struck by lightning.
Less than 1 in a million. But it is still that rare case which adds fuel to the fire of the anti-vax movement. Such as the story of Hannah Poland.
At 19 months old, she received her childhood vaccines. The day before, she had been playful, interactive, communicative. After she received the vaccines, she became more irritable and lethargic. And months after those vaccines, she was diagnosed with encephalopathy and had symptoms on the autism spectrum. Her family, her father's a neurologist, sued, and they won. It was confusing for a lot of people.
The effect of the Hannah Poling decision was to place that scary idea back into families' minds that, oh, maybe there is a link between vaccines and autism. What the court decided in no way changed the scientific studies. it doesn't negate the mountain of scientific evidence looking at vaccines and autism.
I'm certainly not anti-vaccine, but clearly what happened with our daughter was following a series of vaccinations that occurred in July.
The federal government conceded that her autism, her diagnosis, was aggravated by vaccines.
I wouldn't have believed it was possible.
So what you believe is that did Hannah have some sort of predisposition and then the vaccines tipped her over the edge into developing autism? What is your belief now?
I don't think that vaccines are the only way that you can tip over a child like Hannah to regress and have an encephalopathy and have regress into autism. There are probably multiple triggers.
And while even Hannah's father doesn't really believe vaccines cause autism, the government settlement is the only message the anti-vax community seems to hear.
How do you think the scientific community has done? Institute of Medicine / National Academy, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, how have they done at educating people about vaccines and the lack of a connection to autism?
Unfortunately, I have to give them a failing grade. And the reason for that is we're not hearing from the leadership of our scientific societies.
It's true, we don't really hear much from them. But there are online resources if families seek out the information. It's very different from what you hear on the other side.
What you've got is an aggressive anti-vaccine lobby that is using a misinformation campaign to mislead parents into thinking vaccines cause autism or other things. And as a consequence, parents are not vaccinating their kids. This anti-vaccine movement is now so mainstream that it's affecting the public health of the United States.
Coming up,
What's to say this won't happen again? Maybe the only way we get scared enough is when children start to die.
Made your choice?
Get 5G coverage that goes yard. T-Mobile will be 5G. Look at that creature. Let me help you. Doing this stuff. You better dig in. It's the greatest home in the world.
Sleek, curly, we all want to fight frizz. Garnier Fructis Anti-Frizz Serum, Argan Oil Plus Care Assistant, up to 72 hours frizz control, 97% humidity protection. Fructis Anti-Frizz Serum by Garnier, naturally.
Let me check the sound again.
Where the windows are always Pella. Because the weather is always changing. Pella Spider Glass is the strongest material for windows and patio doors. They're tested from -40 degrees Fahrenheit up to 160. Fiberglass frame.
I hear feedback.
Tested for extremes. Designed for your home.
I hear more feedback on the computer than when I was listening on Periscope. What if I shut that off and check Periscope again? Oh my goodness.
Our racers have 5 German-engineered blades designed to stay sharp.
Let me see if I can get Periscope to open again without having to...
We never upcharge you for high quality.
Let me see.
Harry's, available in store and at harrys.com.
I was so embarrassed about paying too much for a used car, I went into hiding in this undisclosed location.
If you don't see me, you're not seeing the most accurate price. Shop at Carfax.
Again, the trick is you have to turn off the Wi-Fi, shut off the app, open it back up in airplane mode, and then turn on the Wi-Fi or the cellular service to get to see the Periscope broadcast without... Yeah, all right, let's see. Is there feedback on Periscope? In airplane mode. See, I'm not hearing... Turn on the Wi-Fi. I'm not hearing the Periscope broadcast without... Yeah. I'm not hearing the feedback, but I'm also not hearing the TV.
Is there feedback on Periscope?
Are you ready to see your fixer-upper?
In airplane mode.
Fixer-upper, welcome home.
I'm not hearing turn on the Wi-Fi.
Stream what you love.
I'm not hearing the. I'm not hearing the.
Heavy lifting, just as busy moving.
Like I said, if I play the music on the computer, you'll be able to hear that.
Wait, a minute? Is there feedback on Periscope?
What have you been doing for the last 2 hours?
In airplane mode. I'm not hearing turn on the Wi-Fi.
Move your Xfinity services without breaking the
I'm not hearing the. I'm not hearing the.
Go online to services.
Like I said, if I play the music on the computer, you'll be able to hear that.
I'm Jeff Zeleny at the White House, and this is.
Is there feedback on Periscope?
The U.S. measles outbreak continues to spread. We have reached a 20-year high. That measles outbreak is spreading.
For a public health official, there's no greater nightmare than a measles epidemic. So to put a measles epidemic back in the bottle has to be one of the hardest things you could do.
As hard as that Brooklyn outbreak of measles was, experts agree that the outbreak of vaccine misinformation might have been even worse. It seems reckless, dangerous, arguably immoral. So why are anti-vaxxers willing to take this risk?
I'm not even sure it matters that much what the motivation is. We just have to stop it.
Something which health officials were finally able to do about a year after it all began.
A lot of parents are vaccinating their children. I would say these are mostly the vaccine hesitant. So now that they didn't really have a choice and they wanted the children to start school on time, they kind of dragged their heels and had the children vaccinated.
County leaders making it official today that the measles outbreak is definitively done.
On September 3rd, 2019, New York City declared the end of its measles outbreak. It took mandatory vaccinations in targeted areas. It took more than 500 workers and more than $6 million to finally contain the crisis. In the end, 654 confirmed cases of measles, and the vast majority of them children. 52 hospitalizations, and 16 people treated in the ICU. Thankfully, there were 0 deaths.
What's to say this won't happen again?
It's gonna happen again.
It's gonna.
Yeah, for sure. I can almost guarantee it.
It's just the anti-vaccine people that are doing all the talking.
They get hurt. Because Offit says the anti-vax megaphone is loud and its pockets are deep.
It's a cottage industry of false hope. I mean, look on some of the websites that are anti-vaccine. They have a variety of treatments and preventives for autism. It's an industry. There was a war on our children that was backed by a group of people who were financially benefiting, whether it was, through these dietary supplements or, these sort of special cleansers that pull metal out of your body. But it just was really unfair to parents who desperately wanted to do something, anything to help their children. These people were perfectly willing to take their money.
In some cases, they are peddling unproven products and programs. And ironically, these are products that have not met the same rigorous scientific standards that vaccines have.
Vaccines are held to the highest standard of safety of anything else. I mean, typically those programs take years to develop, and then and only then do vaccines get licensed and recommended.
And even after they're on the market, that scrutiny continues.
The Vaccine Safety Data Link constantly monitors who's getting a vaccine and who's not getting a vaccine to see whether any side effect pops up. Vaccines are held to the highest standard of safety because they need to be, because we need to maintain the public's trust in vaccines. Rest assured that the people who you're counting on in this country to monitor safety, monitor effectiveness, are as skeptical as they need to be to do that.
Skeptical and committed to safety because they know one simple, undeniable fact.
Vaccines have saved our lives. We live 30 years longer now than we did 100 years ago. One of the principal reasons is vaccines.
Saving lives is what everyone is hoping for. We're in a race, the virus versus the vaccine. And vaccine hesitancy is one of those things that threatens to slow that down. Social media companies are trying to help. Facebook, and Instagram have banned vaccine misinformation, and many people are trying to fill that void with pro-vaccination messaging. Whether it's high-profile people publicly taking the vaccine, generations of American presidents making personal appeals to the American people to get vaccinated. Doctors like Paul Offit and Peter Hotez continue to be vaccine warriors. They know if not enough people get the COVID vaccine, we're never truly going to get clear of this worldwide nightmare. They're willing to risk their lives against the death threats, as have other scientists like Anthony Fauci, hoping and doing anything they can to make sure that science and trust in science ultimately wins the race. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Thanks for watching.
Is it .org or .com? I'm checking the sound. How long is this concert? 46 minutes. I think you can hear sounds like it's raining. I'm going to check for one message. All right.
One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3.
What-a-do, racing in the grass, 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 what-a-do. It sure is mellow racing in the grass. Racing in the grass is a gas, baby, can you dig? What a trip! Just watch it as the world goes past. Racing in the grass is a gas, baby, can you hear it? There are so many good things to see while racing in the grass. Racing in the grass is a gas, baby, can you hear it? Tires with powers for taking everything out of sight. The grass. Racing in the grass is a gas, baby, can you dig it? The sun beaming down between the racing in the grass is a gas, baby, can you dig it? And the bird started in and out of the tree. Racing in the grass is a gas, baby, can you dig it? And it's clear, everything here is so clear. And it's clear, everything here is so clear. And it's real, so real, so real, so real, so real, so real. Can you dig it? Just digging it. Oh, she
let's dig it. No, can you dig it, baby? She can dig it, we can dig it, they can dig it, you can dig it. Oh, let's dig it. No, can you dig it, baby? The sun peeping down between the and the birds start hitting it out of the tree. And it's free, everything here is so free. Everything here is so free. And it's real, so real, so real, so real, so real, so real. And you dig it, just dig it. Oh, she can dig it, we can dig it, they can dig it, you can dig it. Oh, let's dig it. Oh, can you dig it, baby? She can dig it, we can dig it, they can dig it, you can dig it. Oh, let's dig it. Oh, can you dig it, baby?
The lyrics of our next song are so simple, yet so profound. Recorded just months after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, it was a direct statement on the fight for civil rights of the 1960s. The song offered a message of hope and support. But more than 50 years later, that message is still relevant. When Trayvon Martin was killed in 2012, a silence in America was broken, and white people began to speak honestly about the dangers faced by Black Americans in this country. When George Floyd died last summer, the voices of that conversation grew even louder. I am a white presenting man. Because of that, I am afforded certain power and privilege that are not granted to others. Ibram X. Kendi tells us to be anti-racist. Kimberly Crenshaw calls for our work to be intersectional. Over the last years, I have tried to follow their guidance and speak honestly about the need for racial justice in the United States. But it's not just about speaking out, it's about listening. A repeated line in our next song is blackbirds singing in the dead of night. While we hope that that bird learns to fly and to see, we can't forget to listen to its song. Black lives matter, and we have a responsibility to hear their stories and to amplify their messages.
Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. The dead you sing and take wings and fly. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free.
dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life. You're only waiting for the moment to arise. Like birds sing, moments here, like birds sing.
The last year has created challenges for all of us.